a show about living in Atlanta and purchasing a home here. Atlanta Community Profiles is hosted by Lou Whelan, who will talk to experts who know this ever-changing city and its real estate industry. We'll talk to mayors, community leaders, and residential real estate experts. Now, here's Lou Whelan with this week's Atlanta Community Profiles.
Hello there and welcome to our show. My name is Lou Whelan. I publish the official relocation guides on Atlanta on behalf of the First Multiple Listing Service of Atlanta. We have magazines for the metro area. We have one for Gwinnett County in partnership with the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce, one in North Fulton in partnership with the North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, one for Cobb County in partnership with the Cobb Association of Realtors, and one for Inside 285. They're available at Chambers of Commerce and Realtors throughout the city at no charge. They're also on my website, AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. If you stop in and pick up a free copy at any of the brokerage firms or chambers, or just download it or read it on the website, AtlantaCommunityProfiles.com. I'm also a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Georgia Properties. If I can help you with any of your residential or commercial real estate needs, please let me know. My website is LouWhelan, WIELAND.com. And a quick overview on the real estate market. Through October, the sales and prices were up 4%. Their inventory is down 11%, and the average price for detached homes was through the year, through October, $290,988, or roughly $291. So that's for detached, and attached are similar figures, except the price is average of $238. So anyway, that's just an overview, a quick overview. We're predicting a similar forecast for next year. Tony Floyd was on our show last week. He's head of all marketing for Berkshire Hathaway, and that's cool with his crystal ball, so it's cool with mine. So anyway, every week we interview community leaders, people who are contributing to the well-being of our city. And today we certainly have such an individual on the show. Dr. Khan, welcome to the show. First time on our show, and it's going to take the whole show to introduce you properly, I know, but we don't have time, so I'll have to make it brief, but I'll try to make it as comprehensive as I can in a brief way. So you're medical director of radiation oncology at Winship Emory St. Joseph Hospital. Even your title takes a while, much less the introduction.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, it's a great honor to have you on the show. And before coming to Emory, she worked for Arthur Anderson. I know it's. Don't ask me about the segue there. I'm sorry, I can't help you on that one. But she has a Master of Accounting at UNC.
That's right. Go Heels.
And worked for Arthur Anderson.
I did.
And then decided, well, maybe I'll be a doctor, I guess.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's right. Cover both ends of the spectrum. Yeah.
Really?
No, it was an honor to work for Arthur Anderson. It was an incredible learning experience, and met a lot of incredible people in the community, and kind of brought the love to Atlanta from me, and decided a couple of years in that I wanted to pursue a dream of going to medical school. I had a very supportive husband and family who helped me through the process of transitioning, and so happy now that I did it. Nothing against the accounting world. My husband stuck with it and has a passion for that, but this is definitely my passion in life.
So you met him at Arthur Anderson?
I actually met him at UNC, and we both got our masters in accounting together. Both came down here in public accounting and have been together ever since.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a nephew who has a master's in accounting and works for. He's a partner in a CPA firm in Maryland, which is where I came from.
Yeah, I know.
But that was a life dream for him, and then all of a sudden, bam! Here you already get that, and then wow, you're over as not only a doctor but a pretty famous doctor.
Well, yeah, it definitely made the resume. I probably look better for med school. Have a little bit different of a background and bring a little bit different skills to the table.
Yeah, I don't see. You don't have too many patients who ask you to do their tax
No,
returns.
fortunately not. I think they would be highly disappointed at this point in the game.
But I had cancer, but I'd rather do your tax return. I can save you some money, right?
That's right, side business.
You not only save their life, but you help them with their tax return.
Yeah, hard.
Their medical and their financial health. All right.
You'd be amazed.
This is amazing, lady. I can tell you that. Aren't that many people who can save your life and also save you money with the IRS? Pretty cool. Anyway, we're going to learn about what that is, actually. The medical director of radiation oncology at Winship, we're going to talk about that. But you know, Emory is an unbelievable place. It's just if I could try to define it as a reasonably articulately and precisely, I will. It's the place where other hospitals send their patients with the most serious and complex health issues. Emory doctors are responsible for more than 3.6 million patient visits a year, which represents a substantial portion of all health care in the Atlanta area. And it's been recognized as one of the top hospitals in the nation. Basically, you recognize as a leading academic and community health enterprise differentiated by discovery, innovation, education, quality, compassion, and patient and family care. Their goal is to provide quality and enhancements in clinical outcomes, patient safety and service, resulting in national rankings for quality care among the top 10% academic medical centers in the United States. Place where people send their sickest patients and where they cannot be treated at other institutions. The Winship Cancer Institute is Georgia's first and only comprehensive cancer center designated by the National Cancer Institute. Radiation therapy is what in your area is what, if anybody can understand this, it's using high energy waves for treatment.
That's right.
And we'll ask you to explain that. In my field, energy is like 30 minutes on the elliptical machine. But Winship is Georgia's first and only National Cancer Institute designated comprehensive cancer center. So what does that mean?
So the National Cancer Institute is a very stringent organization that will basically do numerous site visits and examine your patient care, your patient follow-up, what technology you have to offer, what rate of errors there are, patient complications, and they basically pick the best of the best. And as you just mentioned, Georgia's never had an NCI-designated cancer center before, and we got that recognition a little less than a year ago, and it's quite an honor. I think I think Emory stood out before this, but I think it recognizes the work that so many people have put into the cancer center at Emory. There are a lot of trials offered, clinical trials offered to patients which are not offered other places in the state. And with that also requires a very high level of care to ensure that these patients are being followed correctly, treated correctly, and receiving what can sometimes be experimental treatment under the right supervision. So it speaks volumes for a lot of work that's been done for many decades, but it's finally being, I think, acknowledged appropriately.
Mm-hmm. Winship Cancer Institute, according to a statement that I received from the public relations director of your hospital, is the first hospital in the state and one of only 7 medical centers in the nation to offer advanced radio surgery for the brain with gamma knife icon. Now, I'm sure everybody understands exactly what that is.
Just that, exactly.
What is that exactly?
So that is really my specialty and passion within the field of radiation oncology. So as you mentioned, radiation is basically delivering high-energy X-ray beams directed towards whatever we choose to direct it towards, usually tumors. But Gamma Knife is a specific form of technology that can do this very highly precise radiation delivery for brain abnormalities. Usually it's tumors, but it can also treat things such as nerve pain that people can have. It can treat tremors. It can treat blood disorders. It's quite a remarkable piece of technology that I can talk about for as long as you want.
Well, my CPA actually thought I should go get some.
Yeah, maybe for.
So stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. I'm Lou Wheeland, and we're sitting here with probably one of the smartest people that's ever been on my show. And I asked her for her IQ, but she won't tell me. I'm sure she's in Mensa, but I wonder if she broke the ceiling's high score for Mensa. But anyway, it'd be fantastic to have Dr. Khan on the show, Medical Director of Radiation Oncology at Winship at Emory St. Joseph Hospital, and formerly CPA at Arthur Anderson. And I don't know. That's amazing. I doubt that if you took a survey of all these CPAs at other firms, nobody would say they wanted to be in your line of work.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I had to go to my colleagues and ask for letters of recommendation for med school, and it took a few months of convincing that I actually was going to go through with this. But,
well, and how long did it take you to go through medical school?
So I went through medical school in 5 years. It's a 4-year typical path, but I took a year and had a child and did some research and in radiation oncology, which really I learned about my second year of med school and just fell in love with the field. And so did that, and then it's a 5-year training program beyond medical school. And then you eventually get out and train.
And then you can start getting a paycheck?
Yeah, finally started having a reasonable
Well, you take a big cut in pay then from Arthur Anderson.
Oh, I did. It was hard. It was hard to take that cut and then go sit with 18-year-olds in a classroom again and yeah, start over a little bit.
Yeah, I'll bet that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I have a grandson who's very, very smart, too. He's an unbelievable whiz kid. And he said that... and he's got his nose in a book 100% of the time, unless he can't physically for some reason. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to help solve diseases. And his grandfather on his other side is MD, and his grandmother on the other side is the nation's foremost authority on the Oregon Trail.
Oh, really?
She teaches at Smithsonian.
Wow.
And
so he's got the
extremely
genes.
Smart person like yourself. So.
Yeah. Well,
in fact, he's coming to Atlanta. I'll have to introduce you.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to him. So
he lives in Denver. He's very off the chart. Never.
I have to gear him towards cancer research. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
People they're making such huge strides in a lot of diseases, and we need strong people like him.
Yeah, he's really. And Saturdays he spends his day taking robotics classes.
Yeah. I know kids like that.
So, radiation therapy is just one way to treat cancer, right?
Right, that's right. So
the other ways are, what is the other way?
Yeah, so my field works really closely with the field of medical oncology, which is the specialty that will deliver chemotherapy, basically drugs, and then we work very closely with surgeons. So there are typically surgical oncologists, there are medical oncologists, and then for my specialty particularly, which is treatment of the brain, we work with neurosurgeons very closely. And then there are peripheral medical fields that don't get as much publicity or any of the glamour, but there are radiologists and pathologists who are more behind the scenes that help us determine what and how to treat as well. But radiation is often used, especially for the brain, as an alternative to going in and cutting things out. Also, often as an alternative to chemotherapy. So chemotherapy doesn't get into the brain and usually is high concentration enough to kill a tumor. So it helps, but usually not enough to do the big bulk of the work. So people often come to us and say, well, can we cut this out or should we treat it with radiation? And the neurosurgeon and I talk and figure out what's best for each patient. But we mentioned gamma knife in the previous segment. So gamma knife actually is there's no knife involved. It's just very highly focused, precise radiation delivery to a spot that can often give as good of results as actually taking the tumor out. And that's a lot more safe. Often when we're talking about things in the brain, you don't get the risk of infections, bleeds, deficits for speech, movement. It's a nice alternative for a lot of deep-seated tumors or for patients who may not be candidates or be really eager to go in and get a craniotomy. So yeah, we've been doing gamma knife at St. Joseph's for a little over 10 years. I've been there for 7, and even in that 7 years, it's become better and better. What used to be done where people get head frames bolted onto their skull and basically immobilized while we're doing this radiation. I think our PR person had mentioned we have one of the newest machines that actually allow us to do that without bolting these frames to patients' skulls, and patients wear masks, and we immobilize them with motion tracking technology, and it's quite remarkable. It is a nice alternative for a lot of patients, and usually pretty effective in curing or at least controlling tumors for a while.
Now, I see that you're also knowledgeable about lung cancer.
Yes.
And can that be treated with radiology?
It can, yeah. So when we're talking about lung tumors that start in the lung and stay in the lung, so early stage lung cancer that hasn't metastasized, we can treat with radiation in a few different methods. We have something similar to as a gamma knife for the body as well. And we do this, it's called SBRT, which is stereotactic body radiotherapy. And
wait a second, could you spell that, please? I'd like to pronounce it. I might go to school just to learn how to pronounce it.
Say it 3 times in a row. But it is.
I bet you can't spell it.
But it is. It's pretty remarkable. You get a very high dose, intense dose of radiation where also tumor control rates are getting pretty close to having the actual tumor excised. So we, just as I meet with a neurosurgeon before we treat anything in the brain, I meet with a thoracic surgeon and we talk before we treat anything in the lung and see, is this something better to take out or can we do almost as good of a job with radiation? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's coming a long way.
Well, the one thing I wrote about to myself here, a little note before I came on the air, is what causes and prevents and treats cancer and other diseases?
Yeah, that's a great.
Tell me something. Is there any? What causes cancer, and is there a cure on the horizon?
So we know, and we've identified a lot of mutations. I mean, it's mutation, just of whether or not it's identifiable changes from disease site to disease site. So what causes the mutation? Sometimes there's environmental factors. As we know, tobacco can put patients at higher risk of mutations growing into a lung cancer. There are certain genetic mutations that we inherit, some that are very clearly identifiable for breast cancers, colon cancers. And then there are things that we can't really explain as of yet that there's a lot of research being poured into that you need to, your nephew, is that right? Yeah, you need to get your nephew to help with that. But it's preventing mutations, and then there's also trying to get the body to repair mutations before they form into a cancer. And that's where the future is, and hopefully will prevent us from being in situations with advanced cancers.
What about genetic? Is there a genetic inclination towards cancer?
There absolutely is. And as I mentioned, we know very clearly for breast and colon cancers, we send patients to get genetic testing so they can identify their risk and their family members' risk. A lot is not known yet, but there's a huge database at Emory, for example, where we keep these patients' information on file, and when more information comes out, we can call these patients back and say, hey, we understand what this mutation means. Get in here, and we'll do some more testing.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We are talking to one of the obviously smartest people in town, and probably you want to meet a real genius. You're meeting a real genius. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm sitting here with Dr. Shannon Kahn, MD, Medical Director of Radiation Oncology at Emory St. Joseph Hospital. A board-certified radiation oncologist. Dr. Kahn joined Winship staff at Emory 5 years ago. Is that right?
7.
7 years ago. Okay, I got
to be updated. That's
your
all.
PR director sent me an old release.
Sounds like it.
I'll have to talk to Mary Beth about that.
Right.
So, if you're listening, Mary Beth, but I'm sure you are.
I hope.
So, Dr. Kahn, what is your proudest moment?
I think my proudest moment is when I think of a few patients that have kind of beaten the odds, and I think that I have played some role in that. There's always one patient that is near and dear to my heart, who I keep in very close contact with. She's not much, a little older than me. She probably wouldn't appreciate me saying that, but we're pretty close in age, and she has young kids, very vibrant lady who had a very daunting diagnosis a little bit over 5 years ago, and has continued to exceed everyone's expectations and what a lot of people have told her from even 5 years ago. And we actually have treated her with Gamma Knife a few times for brain metastases, and I see her and she comes in to see me, and we've avoided some very toxic treatments by keeping Gamma Knife going for her, and it's worked, and she continues to contribute to life more than hardly anyone that I've ever met in my life. And so, yeah, I think when I think about her, or when I think about people like her, then, I just couldn't express the privilege. I mean, I just feel so privileged to be a part of it and be able to offer these people something to extend their life and extend their life well.
What is your? Seems like you've already accomplished everything in the world you could accomplish. What are some of your goals for the future? So, I would like to, one thing that I've been working hard on with some of my colleagues is taking Gamma Knife from doing more malignant causes and taking them towards treating more neurologic disorders. So we actually were the first, we did our first procedure about 3 months ago for a patient with a tremor, so a Parkinson's-like presentation. And the success rates from what we've seen so far are excellent. And, there's some experimental treatments out there where you're treating things like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, obsessive compulsive disorder, things that patients are getting medicated pretty heavily for, that maybe we could do something more permanent, more of an instantaneous one-time treatment rather than having them live their lives with these debilitating disorders that just can be masked with medication. So that's one of my career goals in terms of advancement in technology and research. I think personal in medicine is just to keep seeing patients like the one that I described a few minutes ago, just impact people's lives as much as I can.
for the better.
So a teaching hospital
Right.
is, Emory is one of the foremost medical service providers in that category.
It is.
Tell us how that actually works in practice.
So, yeah, we benefit from that aspect of Emory so much in terms of the support that is sent through our department for our residents, for medical students, for physicists, for people going through medical labs, and you're bringing people in from all walks of the scientific community into to a clinical situation, and then you get this input from this person behind a lab bench that, well, maybe if you looked at this would change what you're doing, and then a physicist doing the same way and doing the same method, and then we bring all that together, and that's how we get these clinical trials built. That's how we continue to grow. I think that's a big part of us becoming NCI designated, is that we have this strong focus on academics. If there's a meeting in Germany that's going to give us a new idea, then Emory will support you going to Germany and learning about this and bringing it back to us. I've never hit any barriers there. I've never hit any people who've tried to interfere with career development or the development of cancer treatments.
In my line of work, you call that expense account.
Yeah, expense account. Expense account.
Well, usually it's lunch at Bones or something, but not a trip to Germany look at a test tube or something.
No, they're very generous.
Very good. So when we get back, what we're going to ask you to do is answer another big question, and which I'm sure you know maybe better than anybody, is what really distinguishes Emory as a phenomenal institution that it is.
I'd be happy to.
And I think a lot of people will be anxious to learn more about it right here in our great city.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. I am Lou Wieland. I'm sitting here with Dr. Shannon Kahn, MD, Medical Director of Radiation Oncology at Emory St. Joseph Hospital, and also CPA. I don't know if you still have your CPA license, or if you're not practicing, you can't
I haven't kept up with my...
Can't put that on your resume, or you can't put that on your...
I don't know. I don't think I could sign off on any returns, but...
The only person that I've ever met who can treat you for brain cancer and problems with your IRS tax statement. So, and this is truly a unique person as a background. Obviously, one of the brightest people that has been on my show. I've had couple other people from Emory, and you guys are all the most brilliant people that I have the opportunity to meet. And now you've been at Emory for 7 years.
Right.
And basically, you've gotten a chance to really see the inner workings of Emory.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about what distinguishes Emory from some other medical service providers, not only in Atlanta but throughout the world.
Yeah, and so even before, I actually went to medical school and did my residency at Emory as well. So my 7 years is being, as you mentioned, with a better paycheck. But I've been around Emory for
me, I would take the money
for a couple decades.
I'd go to the Caribbean for a month, sailing.
But yeah, I mean, I can tell you, even from a first-year medical student, you get people respect the institution, and even in those first couple years of sitting in a classroom, you get lecturers from all over the world that are experts in whatever you're learning about at the moment. And I came out of that school with a strong foundation, and allowed me to be competitive, to do competitive fields like radiation oncology. So no one's going to shrug off a degree from Emory, and everyone, I think, respects the quality of education that they provide. and that education is provided through physicians who work at Emory largely, and so that's the kind of people that Emory hires. They often don't want someone who's just good at seeing patients, someone who's just good at looking at test tubes, someone who's just looking at spreadsheets. It's an exceptional person that I think they bring in. And as you mentioned, you've met a lot of bright people there. That's how I feel when I go to work every day. If I have a question, I can call a handful of people who are world experts, and they can tell me what trials are open, tell me what they think. And so I think that's different than a private practice where you have a couple people that you can go to. But if you work at a big academic organization, you have really a team of experts on lesser known treatments and lesser known diseases, and there's a big security of being at this kind of employer, that you have a lot of backup. But in terms of the cancer center itself, there's a lot of funding, there's a lot of research funding, there's a lot of effort being put into continuing what we were able to do when we were NCI designated. No one takes it lightly, and everyone just wants to go through the next hoop so we can get more honors, because I think we deserve it. So yeah, it's an outstanding institution. It's in everyone, the greater Atlanta's backyard too. So I don't think that patients need to travel to other cities. They don't need to put themselves out financially or personally to get expert opinions and clinical trial enrollment. It's an amazing place that's contained in a wonderful city.
The Winship Cancer Institute. Tell us, explain that again, just exactly what that is. It's a part of Emory, obviously.
It is. It is.
Is it not? It's not a separate.
It is not. It is a division of Emory Healthcare. So it is focused primarily on the treatment of cancers. There are some benign disorders that are treated within the cancer center, but within Winship, that's the organization that is often applying for grants or applying for research funding, or being put through all of these tests to see what kind of quality we're offering patients. So it is a separate entity as well, and that we are funded and focused primarily for the treatment of cancer within the Emory system. But the faculty at Emory Winship are all Emory University faculty, so we are often involved in the teaching aspects of the University of Emory as well, and back and forth with the academic faculty.
Do you see a cure for cancer down the road, or how far away are we from?
So I think in some, yes. I mean, early detection is often associated with very high cure rates. So breast cancer, for example, the mammograms, MRIs, we can detect these tumors often very early. So a lot of patients, we can say you are cured, and that's a wonderful feeling. There are certain diseases which have been escaping us a little more than things like breast cancer, but for example, melanoma and lung cancers, as you brought up, there's a lot of research and wonderful results coming out on immunotherapy, where you can target these tumors with with drugs that are targeted towards whatever mutation these tumors may have, and they can also trigger your own immune system to fight off these tumors. And so the melanoma and lung cancer cure rates are actually going up dramatically once these drugs have been approved. So I think that's a lot of the future as well, and just getting numbers up. I don't know if there's going to be a big tape that we're going to run through anytime soon, but I think we're getting closer.
Mm-hmm. Cutting edge technology is
that's right.
Definitely
that's right.
A big part of your work, I'm sure.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons people come there, they know they will get
that's
the
right.
very latest in technology.
That's right. Yeah.
What a great treat to have you on this show.
Such an honor.
Absolutely enjoyed meeting you, and
You too.
a genuine whiz kid.
That's right.
Brilliant.
I'm just going to take it.
Enjoy it. You deserve it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show and for your service to the community
It's
and
my
the health
pleasure.
service,
Such an honor.
medical health service. And now stay tuned for Dr. Bill Williams, Chairman and CEO of Swanee Dental Care, our dental health expert.